A very, a very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining in wherever you are. I know that it's in Australia, it's about 9 p.m. and then different in South Africa and then Mauritius. But hey, you cannot beat this. It is 2 a.m. or 2:30 where Denise is. So big thank you and a big welcome to you, Denise. Really, you're amazing. You are an angel. And I think if this is not proof, what is? So, hey, well done. Okay, everyone, let's go through a little bit of housekeeping. So if you guys make sure that you've got a pen, paper, a nice cool drink or a hot drink by your side, because once the event starts, you will not want to get up. Okay. Now, we do have translations available. It's not in 4 languages. It's in English, Turkish, Spanish, and Portuguese, right? So yeah, all together. But we do not seem to have the, I don't know what's happened to the French one because they had told us they were going to, where's the French? Okay, anyway, so right, guys, go into your interpretation room and you can choose whatever you want. So as always, the format is we're going to have a 1-hour talk followed by questions and answers. Well, I will read out your questions to Sister Denise, and then we'll take it from there. A sweet request, brothers and sisters, keep your questions separate from your comments. Keep them short and essence-full, because if you write too much, it's likely to be missed. And also, we want to cover as many questions as we can. So I hope that's all okay with you. Yes, lovely comments coming in to the chat box, but let us formally invite and welcome Sister Denise. So let me tell you, the topic is so wonderful, to realize the real you. What did you think of the topic? Isn't it fabulous? So what is the real you? Do we really know who we are? And how do we realize that that is the real me? Wonderful. So to explore this topic with us, we have Sister Denise, all the way from, you are in San Francisco, aren't you?
I am.
You keep on traveling so much, I can't keep up with your travels because last time...
With COVID, no more travels. It's really too impractical. And so we travel on Zoom.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's just, it really worries me about your timings because, we really need sustenance from you. And I know that you already are doing a lot, but your timings, it just make it so difficult for you. And we really appreciate it, from deep within our hearts. So thank you again for that, Denise. Now, for the newcomers. Oh, by the way, whoever's attending for the first time, please type up, just say new in the chat box and put the name of the country you are from, okay? So then I can give you instructions later as to how you can subscribe to this. We do not have a YouTube channel for this, okay? So please, you need to subscribe officially. Now, I don't think there is anyone here who really hasn't heard of Sister Denise, but just in case there's one or two, let me tell you a tiny bit about her. Whatever I say can never be enough. But let me just tell you, give you a little bit of her background. So she's been a student and teacher of the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University for over 50 years, I think. She's established and coordinated so many BK centers all over the world. She is a writer and broadcaster, and this is the bit I love the most, she's prepared a diploma course in education, in values and spirituality, which is now being taught at several universities in India and Asia. Though she's based in Germany, she travels widely all over the world, and really now with Zoom travel. She offers seminars, lectures, retreats on subjects related to spirituality, meditation, and the convergence of spiritual and psychological inner work. As I mentioned earlier, she is currently joining us from San Francisco. Very warm Tuesday morning welcome from the WandS family to you, Denise. Big welcome. And I'm going to switch myself off here, but I'm sitting right here in case we need to.
Okay, wonderful. Just remind me, I forgot to ask you, just remind me about what time would you like to switch over from my talk to the questions?
So about 1 hour. After 1 hour, give yourself 1 hour, just a little bit, and then, yeah, around 1 hour.
Okay, great. Well, it's wonderful to be with everyone once again. And here in San Francisco, it's of course the nighttime, and it's a wonderful thing, this sense of self that people have nowadays, the virtual reality. So many people are having to work from home, study from home, visit relatives from home. Although the world is trying to come back to normal, but we are still used to seeing ourselves and seeing each other through technology. And what this does is it makes us have a different relationship with our image. So what you see on the screen is your image. And normally, before we were into all of this communications technology, we had a different relationship with our image, a different relationship with other people's image, because previously we just used to see ourselves in the mirror or in photographs, or maybe we would have some videos. But, you know, all this started in the 1980s when people of my generation were already well into their lives. And now there are so many people in this world who don't know that there's any other kind of reality than the reality of social media and immediate photos and videos and everything on your cell phone, your device. And it's I'm bringing this up especially because in spiritual practice, it's all about finding the real self. And one of the ways in which we practice to do this is the practice of detaching the self from the image. Your body is an instrument for communication, and your body is the instrument between your soul, yourself, and the material world. And we normally live, I can say, on the surface of our bodies. That is to say, our sense perceptions, what we see, what we hear, what we touch, what we smell, what we taste. All of this is our direct experience of reality. And so the practice of distancing oneself from that reality through turning within is what we have been doing. And with the different way that we relate to our image, I think it's easier for us to really detach from the image, because you can see so clearly that it isn't the self, it's a projected image. And people are very worried about their image. You know, there was so much concern about social media and its addictive impact on young people. And most of that had to do with people's concern for their image, and how much we look at each other via the image. But to realize the real self is very much the first step to that is to make a distinction between yourself and your image. And the other thing which I think is very important in this regard is other people's relationship with your image. Another person will look at you and they will make comments about how you look. And this happens generally from early childhood onwards, because the people around us are in a kind of automatic pilot of adjusting each other's sense of self via the image. And you will be told, okay, you are a girl or a boy, you belong to this or that country, you belong to this or that community, this or that religion. So all of these identifications are really instilled into you right from childhood. And you know, some people have it instilled into them so strongly that it goes in and it overrides any other sense of self that you could possibly acquire from within. A bit tight. So now I would like us to go through the practice together, the practice of detaching from the image. Now, one aspect of detachment from the image is theoretical. And when you study a body of knowledge, you study it essentially theoretically. But in order for that body of knowledge to be real, it has to go from theoretical to actual. That means you have to know it, feel it, experience it, sense it, and take ownership of it. And then perhaps we would say you realize it. You realize it has to do with understanding it, but also making it real. So it's not such an easy thing to shift your sense of self from your image to a much more subtle, very discarnate means away from the body, sense of self. So let us just consider the theoretical first of all. And that is that the self, if you could see a self, you would see something that looks like a star that you see on a clear night in the sky, a tiny point of light. And when you look at the stars at night, you like them, right? You like the stars and the moon because they do something to you. Partly it takes you away from the mundane, the humdrum of life, because you're very aware that they are eternal. And while they move with the cycle of day and night, they move, but yet you know that they are still and they are there. You know that they appear to move because the earth that we are standing on is moving. But otherwise, they're not moving. They're just there. And there are larger astronomical movements, but it's cyclical, and the stars are there for thousands and thousands of years. So it's really a very helpful feeling because you get a sense of continuity, eternity. And this is really what we need to have regarding our own self. And in the material world, everything is so short-lived and time is flying by so fast that it's quite difficult to get a sense that within all of this high-speed whizzing time flying, you are this star of existence, of life that animates the body. And the body is temporary. Of course, everybody doesn't want to get old. They like to stay young. We use every way we can to stay young. The cosmetics technology is making a bomb, keeping people young, but the process of aging, the process of deterioration is just there, and it's life. So life means eventually death. And of course, death means we don't want to talk about that. And when you realize yourself, a very important part of that realizing is that you will survive your death, which is an odd way of putting it, but you will. And I have someone quite close to me who is very ill and who is very aware that any time there could be the passing. And as you reach an age group where your peers are at a certain age and people start flying off and passing on, we use different types of euphemisms to think about this. And this person says, well, you know, I could be up there or down here. And that's a very interesting sense of self, I think, to have, which is really real. Because anytime, you know, nothing is certain. Anytime we could go up there. But what's, I think, really important in realizing the self is to think deeply to a point of really knowing and feeling that it is not possible for me to cease to exist. I may drop my body, leave my body, and this is normal, but I, as a being, as a self, with all my identity, will continue. And so let's look a little bit deeply at this thing called identity, because another thing that we learn in spiritual practice is that we are actors and we play roles. Now, some people think, well, if you're acting, then it's not real. But actually, acting means performing actions. And the spirit acts through the body. And you have three ways to act. You could do an act of mind, which is a thought. Thoughts are powerful. You think about something, it will create your mood, your feeling, your sense of what's going on, your perspective, your interpretation. Everything depends on how you think about it and what you think about yourself. There are people who are known to be really beautiful models, actresses, and they look at themselves in the mirror and they find fault with their face although everyone else says this is the most beautiful in the world, but yet there is this tendency within to find out what's wrong. And where does this come from? I think it's a kind of insecurity or uncertainty about oneself. So knowing about oneself other than the physical face, the physical image, is really good because it changes your relationship with yourself and how you think about yourself and how you feel about yourself. So there is a big reality show going on called life. And there's tons and tons of people in it. The human population is vast. And all the people are interacting with each other, thinking, talking, doing, and making things happen. And so we live in this dimension of action, thoughts, words, verbal act. It's a word. You could speak a word, you could write a word, you could record a word and listen to it later. This is definitely the world of the spoken and written word. And words have an enormous impact on people. And this is why it is said, be careful about your words, because you can make a person feel very good or very bad with the words that you use towards that person. And then deeds, the things that we do all day long, we're doing something or another. So once the spirit comes into the body called life, the living human being is this combination of body and soul. And that's called life because it's visible, tangible. But what spiritual practice also tells us is that life also is there, it persists when you're in your body or when you're not in your body. So part of realizing the self is to think about and consider that I do exist independently of my body. And so in order to grasp this concept to a point where you're able to really realize it, then we practice meditation and many, many different forms of meditation practice that we do in what we call Raj Yoga. This is Raj Yoga, and Raj Yoga is basically, well, in its simplest form, it's a two-step process so that you can realize yourself. So this is important for today's subject. And realizing yourself starts with separating yourself from your body in your mind. You can do all sorts of things in your mind. In a second, you can travel to Spain, London, New York. In a second, you can go there in your mind. You can actually travel through time in your mind. You can go to an incident of your childhood and relive it. You can go to an event that happened yesterday or the day before and relive it. And we call this remembering. So we return there in our mind and we relive it and enjoy it, and then we return back to the present. So mentally, we're going all over the place, geographically and time-wise. You can even go into the future because we are planners. We make plans for what will you do today? What will you do tomorrow? What will you do for your holidays? And so you project yourself into the future and make plans. And of course, we don't know exactly what will happen in the future, but there are many things that are predictable. Now, with the COVID pandemic and all the uncertainties that are going on, predicting the future is a lot less easy than it used to be, but we still have a certain amount of predictability. So this helps you get a sense of yourself, the real you, that you have the capability of moving mentally to any place and any time. And you can visit people. When you think of someone, you visit them. And people very often experience, because you have subtle sensitivities, that you can think about someone and they call you and they say, yeah, I was thinking about you. So we feel each other mentally. And sometimes people call this telepathy, that you can actually communicate with people in your mind. Of course, we may not be very competent in the use of telepathic communication. And besides, we have our telephones and cell phones, and we are communicating all the time. And the advancement of communications technology has created a sense within people that I can talk to anyone, anytime, anywhere, whenever I want. And yet you are still dependent on the communications technology, the internet, and so on. But it is very advanced, and it mimics the capability of human intelligence. So that is our relationship with our brain and what we can do. The brain is extraordinary. And the brain is not part of the soul is not part of the brain. The brain is still hardware, and the soul is a little bit like software. And contained within ourselves is a multitude of identities, because we have a lot of identities. When you're at home, you're your home self. It's different. When you're at work, different. When you come on to speak to a group of people, different again. When you go on holiday, different. So you have all these different identities that you switch from really easily. And sometimes a person thinking about their identity wonders, okay, which of all these characters that I play is the real me? And maybe it isn't any of them. These are all characters that I play, but I want to be in contact with the real me. So who am I? In the spiritual study that we do in Raj Yoga, the answer to this question, who am I, is not really who am I, but what am I? So what am I? A soul. A soul is a what? When you just say, okay, it is the being. That means when you say what, it's common to all souls. All souls are equally tiny points of light. What is a soul made of? It's not material, it's invisible. So that's yourself. Then you have to think, okay, I am invisible. And that's something different from I'm preoccupied with my image. My image is what is visible, photographable, and I think every person gets photographed millions of times in a lifetime through CCTV, through people capturing you on their devices, and there are millions and millions of shots, and you start to see yourself via these shots, via these photographs and videos, and your sense of self, when you are not thinking of yourself in that way, is kind of lost, because we're so externalized by these photographs and videos. So we understand that the person is a being of light, invisible. The essential qualities of a soul are purity, peace, love, inner power, and bliss. These are the 5 elements of a soul. And all these qualities combined take the form of light, which is an energy which can think and process ideas, imagine, create. You can have thoughts that make you feel good, thoughts that make you feel bad. So the practice of meditation is a practice of deciding and determining what thoughts you want to entertain and sustain and develop, and what thoughts you want to just leave aside because you say they're not real, they don't correspond to my essence, they are reactions to negative things that are out there, because the world is an extraordinary combination of light and dark, negative and positive, good and bad, right and wrong, beautiful and ugly, interesting and boring. It's the world of pairs of opposites, and we are floating around doing things, saying things, and thinking things in the middle of all these pairs of opposites. And we are influenced by these things. If you open your curtains in the morning to see what kind of a day it is, and if it's nice sunshine, you say it's a beautiful day, and if it's overcast, you say it's a gloomy day, and the weather corresponds also to your mood. And so we say it's a beautiful day, it's a horrible day. But in terms of agriculture, they need the rain. So what's beautiful to some is not so good to others. So it's very, very subjective. And we are individual beings with our own personality, our own specific identity, which is again different from the roles that we play, but which comes through the roles that we play. So to find the self, to discover the self, to realize the self means to go deep inside and find out who is this thing called me. And it's very subtle. We do get carried away with our constructed identities, because we do have to establish some sort of a persona that we use as an instrument to function in the social world. And so people get a sense of self which they construct. And this construction begins with these projections that are projected onto you by your family, your school or educational environment, and then later by the wider social environment. So people will let you know whether they think you are worthy of respect or not. And they actually control your conduct, your dress, your behavior, your taste, all of these things are influenced by the outside. And most people go along with it and become what the world around makes them be. And of course, as children, you are subjected to all of this forming, molding, and shaping that goes on all the time. And then I think a time comes in adolescence where you say, okay, enough of all this. I'm me, and I need to find out who I am. And so the adolescents tend to become very rebellious. And this rebelliousness is simply the soul saying, okay, I've heard enough about what you think you want me to be, but I need to know who I really am. And so this is one level of realizing the self. You know, the young people are very influenced by each other. So you have the influence of parents, educators, and the adult world. Then you get the influence of your peers. And very often the adolescent will feel that I'm free and I'm deciding who I am and what I am, but without realizing that there is enormous influence from your peers, your taste in music, your taste in dress, your all the the things that teenagers get up to. And then every so often in life you get these different stages of life where you kind of reset your identity, but it's still within a certain set of parameters. You remain whatever gender your body is, that's your gender. You say, I'm a man or a woman, or I'm gay, or I'm straight, or I'm all the various different orientations that people have now, because people think that your gender is what you are. But in spirituality, your gender is a factor of your body. And yet everyone around you will see you as your gender. And the world is gender conscious and gender biased. So that if you are what you can say is wealthy, white, male, well-educated, etc., then you're on the top of the pile. And then it goes further down according to a gender, a color, and if you're the dominant or you're part of the dominant social group, then you will be considered more okay than others who are minorities. Anyone who's a minority will be considered less than by the majority. And there are social prejudices. Many kinds of prejudices are projected onto you throughout your whole life. And no matter how much you do to try to get free from it, as long as you still think of yourself in terms of your gender, your body, your physical body color, race, nationality, religion, social grouping, financial grouping, if you're artistically inclined or scientifically inclined, all of these things do keep you in certain limits of your identity. And what we're trying to do here in this discussion is to go much further than that. And so we're looking at the identity of the self when it is not acting, performing, it's not using any of these personas that you use in your social and professional family interaction. We're trying to go to the deepest part of the self, And so I think we can say that the deepest part is the real part, the core of your being. And so the first thing to do to find that out is to know that the self is actually a spirit in the form of a point of light, which can think and feel and experience, and which contains within itself all sorts of ways of being, all sorts of personality traits. It's a whole individuality which gets expressed through the body. So the purpose of life, the purpose of getting born, is to express what's within and to interact with others and pass through life contributing and receiving. And that whole experience, the human story, is done by the soul and is contained in the soul. But you have to tell yourself this thought: I am not my body. I am not my image, the role that I play. That is different from the essential me. And so part of meditation is to go deep into experiencing these essential qualities of the soul, the purity, the peace, the power, the love, the bliss. And we need to know these and experience these in meditation to make it clear to ourselves that that is my essence. Because otherwise, people tell you differently. And your essence has nothing to do with gender, color, race, culture, nationality, religion. All those things are part of the performance in the big theater of the world. But to tell yourself, I am colorless, cultureless, genderless. So what am I? A pure being of light, essentially loving, essentially peaceful. And when you tell yourself this and you go deep into it and experience it from within, that this is true, this is what gives you this distance between yourself and your body, yourself and your performance. So this practice is really quite important to make this distinction. Then we go further and we say, okay, everything that's going on is according to destiny. There's a story of humanity, and everything that's happening is destined. And there are some people in this world who believe in destiny. There are some people who don't. But in terms of what I have come across in all my years, most people do feel that they have a destiny and that things are destined a certain way. And the sense of destiny is very helpful because it helps you to come to terms with what has happened. And it keeps us away from blaming and trying to get revenge, because blaming and getting revenge are quite negative emotions, which can drive a person to perform negative karma. And another thing that we study about in spiritual practice is karma. Karma meaning action. What kind of action? What kind of thoughts? What kind of words? What kind of actions do I do? And they could be positive or negative. And there's a big spectrum between extreme positive and extreme negative. And there are consequences. And the soul is impacted by the actions that it performs through the body. So we have a big difficulty with pronoun. What pronoun should we use for the soul? Do I say I'm a he or a she? If I'm genderless, I can't really be a he or a she. So in the English language, to handle this problem, it was decided, well, use the word he. But then, because people are so gender conscious, it became biased, the he's against the she's. And so that didn't work completely. Then we say, okay, well, is the soul an it? Well, I am not an object, so I can't be an it. But if you think, a male body is still an object, a female body is still an object, because the being is not the body. So our whole language is based on the concept that I am my gender, and I am the color. You say, I am a woman, I am a man, I am of this race, I am of this nationality, this is my language, this is my religion, this is what I am. And spirituality says, actually, no, you're not. Your body is that. And all these identities came to you from the outside, from the society you live in. Once you get born, you're a little baby, and then they say, okay, you're a girl or a boy, this is your name, and this is the kind of toys that you should like playing with because you're a girl or because you're a boy. And this is our family, and this is the language we speak, these are the customs, these are our beliefs. And so they condition you and culture you in that way, and you accept that and take it on until you get these periods in life where you want to decide for yourself who you are. But without knowing deeper spiritual information, you can only decide for yourself within a very limited framework. So then comes the question, well, how free and independent do I want to be? And there are some people who really, really, really want to know, who am I independently and free from all of these external influences? And it can be quite scary to do that, because these are our context, and our sense of self is very much connected with our context, our sense of security. People do like to feel secure. So, for example, one of the realities of the world today is there's a lot of conflicts, and there are big climate change impacts, which have caused large numbers of people to take the form of refugees and leave their home because it's no longer viable. Either it's too violent, or the agriculture is destroyed by the climate change, and so they cannot live anymore, so they move to somewhere else. And this is called a displaced person. And we see in the news so many people trying to flee their countries or flee their unlivable places where they have lived. And then they want to go somewhere new where they are in a different culture with a different language. They're not accepted. They don't have what they need. It's very, very difficult to be a refugee. And you don't know the culture you're coming into, you don't know the language, you don't know the customs other than what you see on movies, which is, of course, not how it is. And there are as many refugees now as there were at the end of the Second World War, which is millions and millions. And in many ways, it's kind of helpful to think about this, because anything can happen to make your predictable, secure reality all of a sudden not so secure and not so predictable. And one of the things that has really hit people all over the world is the pandemic, because it has changed the way we live. And people are thinking about, when are we going to go back to normal? And some people are saying, well, I don't think we are going to go back to normal, because things have really changed. And so there is this feeling of uncertainty. And people don't really like uncertainty, because it's definitely a very strong internal feeling. You want to have things be predictable. You don't want anything traumatic. You want everything to be what we call normal, which means comfortable. Because when things are not the way you are used to, you might panic, you feel distress, definitely you feel stress. And this is happening to more and more and more people. And so from that angle, I think that knowing the self, being able to realize the inner self is really good, because it's an anchor. And when you anchor yourself, to your eternal form, and also anchor yourself in the divine, because there is an eternal connection between a soul and the supreme soul, the supreme being, God, however you want to name this. It is the most excellent anchor, because it never changes and it is never negative. Your relationship is eternal. It has nothing to do with your body. Of course, in the body, people have their spiritual life, their spiritual dimension, their religious life. But above and beyond that, the actual connection, or the connectivity of a soul with the supreme being, is permanent, unbreakable, and there's nothing anybody can do about that. And this gives you absolute and total security, especially when the world is becoming more and more chaotic. You need an anchor. And so this two-step process, which I think is the essential and beginning aspect of meditation: connect to yourself, the soul, and then connect to the Supreme Soul, who is your life support. Your life support in the sense that, what are the energies that a soul requires in order to be sustained? It is the energy of love, peace, power, purity, and happiness or bliss. And if you have a continuous flow of these things, and this is your anchor, then you can manage the vagaries of the world, the insecurities, the ups and downs, the craziness and the chaos quite well. And this is why we have such a thing as spiritual study and spiritual practice, because if a person doesn't know these things, then life is really very difficult, because where are your anchors? They're all unreliable. And what you thought was reliable turns out not to be reliable. You feel very distressed, you feel betrayed, and so many negative feelings arise, which drain out your spiritual energy. And so this is extremely important. And it is a great fortune to be someone who is motivated to take care of their inner life, motivated to find out as much as possible and take full advantage of this anchor, the anchor to the self. No matter what anybody says about you, you know, I'm a pure, peaceful, powerful, loveful, blissful being of light. I'm forever. And what you see is just my performance or just my covering or my, my costume. And don't look at my dress, look at me. Of course, I'm invisible, but feel me. And if you can't feel yourself, it's difficult for other people to feel you. And this is what we call soul consciousness. And when you're soul conscious, you're in yourself, you're in your power, and other people can feel you because you are feeling yourself and you're therefore radiating that. And people pick up this radiance, and you're not so much picking up what everybody else is doing. You're the one who's sending out, and you're sending out very positive energy, and you're connected to the higher power. And so you're constantly drawing that sustaining energy into yourself. And then you really know, not only I know who I am, but I know who I'm connected to, because people don't really like isolation. You need to be connected, but there's a permanent connection, and there are all the temporary connections of life. So this permanent connection to the self and to the higher being, and then destiny. It is what it is, and it's fine by me. Whatever it is, I can make it through. So I will stop there and let us get back to Madhavi. Thank you so much.
Hello. Gosh, do you know what? We could just sit and listen to you, dear. Just listen and listen. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for that, Denise. Okay, so we've got some questions already for you. Okay, so first question is Simon says, how do I know that the soul is not a construct of my vast ego? Great question. Great question.
Well, this is why you are responsible for figuring it out yourself. And this is why there's a study. And yesterday I was in a hospital, and in the pharmacy of the hospital to do something for someone that I'm taking care of. And there was someone there in the waiting room, and said, what are you? Who are you? What is this? You know, I look different. So we got talking, and it's interesting. This is a person who was a scientist, a mathematician, and a very devout Catholic. And he said, you know, I really need to have a discussion about spiritual matters because I need to know. And this is the thing, we all have questions about it, and there are assumptions that you cannot know it. But I think that you can know it. There is this word recognition, recognizing the self, recognizing what you are, and connecting yourself to that recognition. And you will inquire and inquire and inquire until you're satisfied, because you have criteria, internal criteria. And there are all sorts of things that we come up with that are called constructs of the ego, but get past the ego, because your existence depends on it. And so when you realize how important it is, you will you will grasp it, you will get it.
Beautiful.
I just want to ask you, there's another meeting going on the other side of the door. Are you hearing their sound or not?
Not really. I'm not hearing anything else, or it's very,
Okay,
very
fine.
faint. So it's great.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, next question from Andre. He says, with the number of refugees increasing daily, do you think we are waging a world war with each other as people?
Well, there is a case for thinking that. I was in a conversation with someone not long ago who said, the world is really in conflict, the North against the South, the East against the West, the men against the women, the adults against the children, the humans against the planet. There is so much distress and disturbance and conflict, which is really very difficult. And I mean, where I am in the United States, there are people who are talking about the possibility of an all-out race war, because there's so much issues between the races here. As you know, everyone is armed and many of them dangerous, but I don't have a gun. And I was in a gathering where I was asked, what kind of gun do you carry? I said, well, I don't think I need a gun. Oh, yes, you've got to have a gun. I don't think so. Thank you. But yeah, it is a well-armed place. And as you know, a lot of bullets fly around when they really shouldn't be.
Have you witnessed that sort of, generally when you're out? I mean, does that happen? Or is it just that people are in possession of arms? What's your experience?
Well, yeah, people are in possession of arms. And, in England, I have a brother who has a gun, quite a fancy gun. And it's because he does target practice, that's his sport. But the rules around it, the gun has to be locked, the gun has to be, even if he's transporting it in the car, it has to be locked, it cannot be accessed by anybody. But you see here, there are so many incidents of children getting hold of guns and doing a lot of damage with it. There are a lot of people who get shot, a lot. And this is not just in US, in other parts of the world, trigger happy people. And, other places, anything can be used as a weapon. If you run somebody over, your car is used as a weapon. If you put a knife in someone, or you bash someone over the head with something. It's just the violence that goes on in people. You hear fights at night, domestic violence is quite, audible, and you see things in the road. Yeah, I'm very aware of people's inability to harmonize with each other, to live together, to be in peace with each other. This is not easy because there's no inner power. And that's why this practice of spirituality is a lifesaver, really.
Absolutely. So before I move on to other questions, there's a very sweet comment from one of our new members, relatively new sisters, and she's reflecting what many others have shared with me, and I promised them I would pass this over to you. So I'm just going to read this out. So this one's from Vaishali. She's saying, Sister Denise, from the bottom of my heart, thank you in capital very much for everything you are doing these days. You have answered so many questions I had in your various sessions. Please receive flowers from my heart to your heart. Isn't that beautiful?
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Vaishali. Thank you very much.
And of course, lots of others have been writing, people who've come on WandS and, the brand new to BK, to Brahma Kumaris, and, they really take benefit. So, on behalf of everyone, I extend that thanks to you. And of course, the flowers are always coming your way. Okay, a couple of questions. Okay, I think the two questions are very similar, so I'm just going to say them together. Anik wants to know, is everything destined? Where does that leave free will and choice? And then the next one says, Jenny wants to know, please, can you explain the difference between destiny and karma, please? Over to you, Denise.
I did with my good friend Magla Pillay, we did a video series of, I think, more than 100 videos on karma, destiny, and choice. And they are available on my YouTube channel, which is just under the name Denise Lawrence. And every possible angle on that subject we tried to cover. And so I would suggest that you take a look at that. If you go on my channel, there's about 500 videos on it. So you have to go to the playlist, which is called Karma, Destiny, and Choice. And then you can choose the one that you are interested in.
Actually, what I was going to also add is that along with the recordings, when I send it to all those who subscribed, I will send you, as always, some of the links that Denise is talking about. Okay, her SoundCloud, YouTube explorations of different things, and yes, it's amazing. Thank you so much for that. Okay,
another to answer the question immediately, it's first of all, people are not as free as they think. Sometimes you get asked the question, if you had to do this over again, would you do anything any different? And without thinking, a lot of people say, yes, I would change this, I would change that. But when it comes down to it, we are so bound by our habits and the usual way in which we do things that we are really not as free as we think. But at the same time, I would also say that there is an overall destiny, but there are moments in time, circumstances, which you must have experienced where there is nothing you can do and you just can't change it. And there are other moments in time when you are called to action and you need to make a choice, you need to make a decision and do something. And if you try and do something when nothing can be done, it's wrong. And if you don't do something when you're called to action, then that will be wrong. So there are a lot of paradoxes. This is not a simple, easy thing. There are a lot of layers, and important is to be able to hold the paradox of destiny and free will. And that takes a lot of thought. A lot cannot be answered in just 5 minutes, because you have to arrive at that clarity yourself.
And I think your videos actually give us all the all the info. It's then one has to sit down and really go through things and think for oneself. But yes, it's a very powerful topic, and like you talked about paradoxes, contradictions, etc. Thank you for that, Denise. Okay, Brother Andre, this will be your last question to Denise, because I've got loads of others. Please, Sister Denise, can you share your thoughts on how we can disrupt the violence?
Well, you have to come to terms with it, because we are at a period of time when there is a great deal of violence, and it is going towards a higher and higher peak. And what you need to do is to be in your peace yourself. and connect with the source of peace, because you have to navigate through a world that is tearing itself apart quite violently. And that is not an easy thing. And this is why we have access to very high quality spiritual practice. But you cannot, you're not strong enough to make everyone in the world peaceful. Only God can do that. Not you, not me, not anyone. But we can be conduits of that peace and radiate that peace.
One of the best things I learned when I joined Brahma Kumaris, in fact, one of my first sessions is, because so often when we don't know much about spirituality, we think, I want to change so and so, I want to change that one, da da da. But one of the first things we learn is it begins with me. And then that energy really transfers. And that is so powerful. And it's true. Okay, so now this is a question not from the public, but one of our brothers. Where did it go? Okay, Manuel wants to know, he says, this aspect of real being, the true self and false, is it connected with what Baba, this is in our, by the way, our spiritual teachings that we study every morning, is it connected with Vichitra and Chitra?
Vichitra means that you are without a frame, you are without a context. And Chitra is your form, your body, your context, your costume. So in some ways you can say yes, but if you keep it as an intellectual construct, it stays theoretical. I think the big challenge is to understand the theory adequately, because it's not fixed, and all the paradoxes are what ensure that you understand that it isn't a fixed thing. People like it to be either this or that. It's not. Then you have to inculcate it and really arrive at clarity about it. And that takes years of deep thought, years.
Absolutely. And one of the things you've said with me is, being very patient with yourself and really enjoying. Lovely comment from Neda. She's saying spirituality is the answer to everything. We're going through, and that's the only way we'll be able to win the battle. Loads of lovely comments saying, oh, thank you so much, Sister Denise. Shamim says, makes me feel complete and truly confident, caring. Okay, so there's a question now from Eleonara. I think I've got that right. Yes. I am happy that you pointed out the huge conditioning and the body-related prejudices brought out by the use of genderized pronouns. Therefore, I also feel uncomfortable with the permanent use of genderized and role references, mainly as my father is Ghanaian, from Ghana. Ghanaian? That's
Ghanaian.
Right, Ghanaian, yeah. What do you think of that? Should there be another language?
Well, I definitely think we need another language, but, language is a living thing. And there are a lot of people who tried to create new words which are not gender specific, like hesh, he, she mixed together. But it hasn't been successful because the overall culture for 1,000 years or more has been gender biased, patriarchal, and all of this. And so I think the best thing is you have to do it individually. You don't need to change the language, but you need to change what you mean by certain words. And then you have to also find excellent replies, because people will say things which are designed to limit you in a particular category and force you to accept that that's what you are. So you need to practice a bunch of replies that you can give and say, oh, I don't see any women here. I'm a being, by the way. You know, you want to talk to me or you want to talk to my body? Which is it? You know, talk to me. I'm here. Something like that.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Just to say, many of you are here for the first time and you're writing to me saying you want the recordings. And many of you, again, like Jenny here, is saying that okay, I really look forward to Tuesday mornings. They bring such warmth and connection into my life. Warmest wishes to you and Sister Denise and every other speaker that we have here. You know, our WandS family is growing day by day, and I'm so happy that we are able to connect you with each other and also bring you our most senior yogis who will come and talk to you on different aspects. If you need to have a recording, if you'd like to go through this, please understand you need to subscribe. You need to subscribe to WandS because it is a GDPR requirement now. I cannot, first of all, we don't have a YouTube channel and we cannot just send recordings, okay, unless I have your clear permission. And that clear permission is through your subscription. So I have put my information there. Please write to WandS and we will send you the links through which you can subscribe. Is that okay with everyone? And yeah, try to do that by tomorrow because the recordings tend to go out in a couple of days, if that's okay with you. Let me think. I think Denise, that seems to be it. Anik, I'm sorry, I really don't understand which particular words you want to know. It's simply because we've moved through so many questions. So I really don't know which specific ones you're saying. If you wish to type the question up, I'll be happy to help you out. Okay, I think this is the last question. How do we uncover? This is from Narayani. She wants to know, and she's a newcomer, and she's saying, how do we uncover the layers of habits, attitudes, and behaviors that we have acquired for so many births? Join the club, I would say.
Well, this is the thing. Once you decide that this is an important thing in your life, you really want to understand yourself, you really want to understand your spiritual dimension, then you begin this practice of meditation and study, two things: meditation, study, and you're working on yourself constantly. And you make this part of your life. It's a lifelong thing, and it grows you and develops you and uncovers and repairs and discovers. And finally, you arrive at the essential self, because it's right. It's layers and layers and layers and layers and layers. Sedimentary rock, you can say. And we are looking to reach the core of the being, that brilliant radiance that is the real self.
How beautiful. It's like, we often think that I have overcome something, I like to think that. However, very soon the next layer comes up, So yes, absolutely. It is all about uncovering, isn't it? To get to the real essence. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining us from all over. Obviously, the biggest thanks to Sister Denise. She is amazing. And I send you a lot of love and flowers and what else? Honey, nectar, to everything from my heart, right? To say thank you for waking up at 2 a.m. To be with us. Just to let everybody know, next week is the last session, last WandS session for 2021. And next week, we have with us Brother Charlie Hogg from Australia, with a fabulous topic, the stepping stones on the spiritual journey. Now, we all think we've heard this before, but he goes into quite a depth. So all of you are very welcome. Let me just check. No, there isn't anything. I was just checking to see, but you've explained everything so beautifully, Denise. And please convey our regards to everybody there, especially Sister Chandru. And have you any idea when you're likely to come back to this side of the world?
Well, I would say it all depends on destiny.
Oh, yes, Denise, I love that.
Well,
Any,
it's the truth.
I know. Okay.
Because, you know, one of the things that Daddy Janki used to tell us is when people would say, okay, what should I be doing? What service should I be doing? And she would say, whatever comes in front of you, do that, because that is what's needed. And so I try to live like that, to respond to needs as they arise. And that also helps to keep me feeling my freedom and to really know that I'm responsible for what I do and choose to respond to the calls of the drama.
I think you do that really well. And also what I think, along with Vaishali and many others, I've noticed is that obviously you're doing much more. You read the Murlis there, you do, lots of different things, and they're actually extremely helpful. And so all I'm going to say to everybody is I will be sending you some links, especially for the newcomers. Just listen to those videos. The Sister Denise has done loads of different videos on different aspects of spirituality. And please don't miss them. Honestly, just sit down and go through them. They are so helpful. They certainly helped me very much in my early days. Just to say, special reminder, next week, which is on the 14th, with Charlie, our event here starts at 9:30 because it's too late in Australia. So he's also struggling with the time. Is that okay? Yes. So next week, we're going to see you at 9:30 a.m. And I'm just going to say, sorry, guys, you guys are sending your messages, but it's a little late now. Okay, Denise, can you please take us through meditation? But before that, I'd like to say a special thank you to Anabai and all our translators, Spanish, Turkish. Don't know what happened with French, but hey, anyway, you all are very welcome. Can you all just connect yourselves so we can all let everyone see you, and then we can connect with Sister Denise. That's it, Hilal. And we will have your meditation. Is that okay?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Denise. Then.
Thank you, Hilal, Eva, Manuel, as always. By the way, all the translators, if you wish to join us next week, please make it in time, half an hour before the event, so we can make sure that we set everything up correctly. Okay, so over to you, Denise. Let's have a beautiful meditation from you. We're going to end with that.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
So sit quietly and allow yourself to just be with yourself. And turn the attention within to feel your essence, your purity, the core of your being, the radiance within, that light of consciousness, the spirit, the beautiful one. Feel that energy of the self, the love that flows from you is your essence. Being deeply connected with the inner self, you're also in a different dimension, the inner world of light. From this space, connect to the higher being is so close. when you are turned within, that being is right there for you. A great ocean of wisdom. The infinite contained in the infinitesimal point of light. Feel the power flowing into you. The gentle waves of peace. The endless flow of love. You are locked on to that source, absorbing, communing, feeling, knowing. This is the one you can trust. Know your relationship is eternal, unbreakable. Whenever you can, connect in and draw that energy into yourself. Be in that flow. Shanti.
Shanti. Just a last point, if anyone needs any information on how to take the Raj Yoga course or any other courses that we offer free of charge, please write to me at WandS. Okay, I put the email there again. Again, a very big thanks to all of you and our translators. A sweet request to the translators. If you have any queries, because I'm getting them through the chat box, please connect with Anabai. I think I've sent all of you the numbers. And next week, you need to connect latest 9 a.m. UK time, okay, if you wish to translate for Charlie's program. Last but not least, please take our love to everyone, but most of all, Denise, to you. We really are looking forward to having you back here with us so we can have more session on WandS with you. You really are very helpful to so many souls that you probably aren't even aware. And big thanks to all the newcomers. Om Shanti. Take care, everyone. Lots of love and thanks to each and every one of you. Om Shanti. Bye, Denise.
Om Shanti, and thank you so much, Madhavi, for being so consistent. I know that you have been going through so many challenges like we all have. You're not exempt and you are handling everything so beautifully. So take good care and be well, and Om Shanti.
And you too. We're just looking forward to seeing you. I am, just looking forward to seeing you soon. In the physical presence. Take care. Yeah, not just on Zoom. Everyone, take care, be well, and enjoy listen to the recordings again. And we welcome you next Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. Om Shanti. Bye, everyone.